Imagine your doctor telling you that your headache's probably caused by demons. So naturally, the solution is to drill a hole into your skull. Oh, and if that doesn't work, they will throw some leeches on you for good measure. Yeah, this is the 14th century, a place where life was a never-ending horror show. Just to give you an idea, the average life expectancy in the 14th century was remarkably low compared to modern standards, generally ranging between 30 and 40 years. Today, we are counting down the top 10 reasons why this was probably the darkest time to be alive. With each point, things get worse. And spoiler alert, it's a whole lot more terrifying than a bad Wi-Fi connection. Welcome back to our channel, where we make history into the wildest trip you've ever been on. Literally. Number 10. Religious persecution. You couldn't even think for yourself. In the 14th century, if you didn't follow the church's teachings, you were basically signing your death warrant. Questioning religious authorities could land you in front of the Inquisition. And that's a meeting that you wouldn't walk out of. Heretics were tortured, burned at the stake, or worse, excommunicated, dooming their souls to eternal damnation. You had to watch every word that came out of your mouth. One wrong comment, and you'd be on trial for heresy. Any deviation from the church's teachings could lead to accusations of heresy. And if you don't know what heresy is basically like telling them that there's no God. I know everyone can get annoyed when someone argues with you online, but nowadays they're not putting you on trial for heresy, huh? Number 9. Disease everywhere. Even the common cold could kill you. We've all had bad colds, but in the 14th century, a simple sneeze could lead to your death. Forget antibiotics or hospitals. People relied on bloodletting, weird potions, and prayers to cure them. No vaccines, no sanitations, and definitely no health insurance. You'd catch something as simple as a cold, and before you knew it, you were gone. Open wounds would lead to infections, and with no antibiotics, your best option was hoping the infection didn't kill you faster than your doctor could. And your doctor? Yeah, probably about as useful as asking a goldfish for medical advice. Next time you complain about being sick, just be glad that you're not relying on leeches to cure you. Number 8. Torture was prime time entertainment. In the 14th century, public executions were like going to a sports game, and people gathered in the town square, cheered, and watched someone get their pee-pee chopped off. The more brutal, the better. Torture was not only a form of punishment, but it was also an entertainment. People would watch with pure excitement as someone was stepped to the rack and stretched, or worse, thrown into the Iron Maiden. If you want to learn more details about the worst types of tortures that happened back in the day, check out our animation, The Worst Torture Methods, which is up here right in the info card. I will also leave the link below in the descriptions just in case you want to watch it. If you think TV was bad back in the day with nothing but static, imagine the townspeople tuning into Torture Tuesdays in the square. Because why not? It's not like there was Netflix to keep them entertained. Who needs Game of Thrones when you got real life executions in your local square? This thing here was called the rack, where the victims are stretched until their limbs dislocated or tore apart. And it was just the beginning. There were also iron cages where people would be left to die from exposure, and the wheel where criminals were tied and beaten to death. People would attend these tortures like they were public festival. Worst era to be alive. Number 7. Death in childbirth. A 50-50 gamble. For women, the 14th century was like living in a horror movie, especially when it came to childbirth. With no medical knowledge, giving birth was basically a death sentence. 1 in 3 women died in childbirth, and infant mortality was through the roof. Every pregnancy was a gamble. Would you survive? Would the baby? Would either of you? No epidurals, no C-sections, just a lot of pain, screaming, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, the midwife knew what she was doing. I know it sucks, the long waits in the hospital, but man, at least you are not risking your life every time you want to have a kid. Worst era to live in. Number 6. Superstitions and witch hunts. Blame the cats. If you think canceling culture is intense now, wait until you see what medieval superstition meant. People in the 14th century blamed everything on witches. Crops failing, plagues, you name it. Black cats, straight up evil. So they killed them in mass, which only made things worse because with fewer cats, the rat population exploded. And guess what rats brought with them? The plague. Brilliant plan, right? In some towns, entire witch trials would be based on dreams. If someone had a dream that their neighbor was a witch, that was considered a valid evidence. Thousands of innocent women were tortured and killed for their crime of simply existing. And with no black cats to stop the rats, the plague ran rampant, making everything worse. Women, particularly older or unmarried ones, were often accused of witchcraft for the most ridiculous reasons. Your neighbor had a bad harvest? must have been your fault because you looked at them funny. The punishment? Usually death by burning, drowning, or some other creative form of execution. Next time someone gives you a dirty look, just be thankful they are not accusing you of sorcery and lighting a torch. I have to end the video because of your low attention span, but don't worry, there will be a second part next week. Help a brother out and subscribe, leave a comment and like. Until then, sayonara suckers.